This episode of Scandal Water contains adult themes and descriptions of violence. It is not intended for all audiences. Listener discretion is advised.
Welcome to Scandal Water,
Where we cover the stories that have captivated the entertainment world.
I'm Candy, a longtime educator and community theater actress.
And I'm Ashley, a writer and co-founder of a local theater group.
We're two friends who share a love of entertainment.
From true crime docuseries, to blockbuster movies, to classic TV, to Broadway shows, and everything in between.
Each week, I share a compelling story related to pop culture.
And I chime in using my trivia junkie brain.
We stick to the facts until it's time to settle into our armchairs at the end.
Then we're simply two women with a strong cup of tea and even stronger opinions.
We're Scandal Water.
And if this sounds like your cup of tea,
follow the show on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel.
Oh, it's that time of day. Tune in and hear what the ladies say. It's time to bend your ear when the silver screen appears. Stories about the stage and screen and everything in between. So come on and join the fun. The curtain opens in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Ashley.
hello.
We are going to be talking about such a fascinating episode today.
Ooh.
And this is one that you are not familiar with, correct?
No, I am not at all. And we made that decision that I would come into this blind. You wanted to tell me a story.
Yes,
and it is a good day for a story. For us, it is a rainy, kind of miserable day.
It really is.
But we're going to be those old people. We needed the rain.
Well, it will add atmosphere.
It will.
It is, because it's kind of
Gloomy.
Gloomy. Yeah, there's a tone out there. It sets the mood. Okay, so rather than identify the topic right off the bat, I'm going to paint a little scene here.
Okay.
Okay.
Get out your easel.
Put some dark colors on that palette because this is not going to be a bright and sunny scene. So adjust your expectations.
Okay.
All right. So on March 23rd, 2015, a physical therapist named Denise went to her boyfriend Aaron's home on Mare Island in Vallejo, California. Aaron was also a physical therapist. In fact, the two worked at the same facility, which is how they met and then eventually started dating. So this particular evening, Denise arrived around 6 p.m., bringing pizza with her for dinner. And by the time they'd had their dinner and a few drinks and then a long conversation about their relationship, it was late, and Denise decided to stay over. Around 3 a.m., the two were awakened from their sleep by a blinding bright light. As they looked around, disoriented, they saw red laser dots moving across their bodies.
No.
And Aaron said he heard the sound of a taser going off.
Oh.
A man's voice directed, "Aaron, lie face down." And then Denise was instructed to tie Aaron's hands behind him using zip ties.
Oh, no.
Yeah. And then Aaron said he felt what seemed to be swim goggles being put over his face with the eye holes blacked out.
Oh, that's scary.
Yeah. Next, he was sat up and foam earphones were placed over his ears. Music that sounded like wind chimes started playing, and a pre-recorded message told him that the intruders were going to take his vitals.
Take his vitals?
His vital signs, yes.
Are they like aliens here? What's happening?
Well, so they did take his vitals. And
Like
then,
his temperature? We're just talking like temperature, your
blood pressure.
blood pressure? That is-
Pulse, yes.
That's super weird.
Yeah.
And he's a physical therapist, right? Okay.
Yes.
I feel like I should have
Both of
gotten a
them
notepad to make notes and be like, wait a minute, okay.
Yeah.
All right, okay.
So the couple were told they were going to be given something to keep them calm. Aaron later told the police that he remembered the intruders identifying it as something like a mixture of NyQuil and diazepam.
Oh, dude.
And they were told if they did not drink it, it would be given to them intravenously.
Oh.
They both drank it.
Yeah.
Aaron was then instructed to lie back down. At some point, he started to shiver and asked for a blanket, and a man said, "Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot how cold it is in here because we are all wearing wetsuits."
What? Okay, wait. He has foam earplugs. Did they take those back off?
Well, they had that. That's what the pre-recorded.
Oh, okay. Then they took it back
message, and
off.
They did not specify that, but I'm assuming either the man's voice could be heard even with the earphones on, or they did take them off at some point. I'm not sure.
All right.
Okay, so at some point then later, they took Denise to a different room, and Aaron was taken down to the couch. And then the man said, "We have a problem. This was intended for Andrea." Now, Andrea was Aaron's ex-fiancée who had been living at Aaron's house until September. The two had broken up several months earlier, and so Aaron is totally stunned by this statement, wondering why they would have been targeting Andrea. But then the man went on to say that they were going to take Denise anyway.
Oh.
Because Aaron could pay them enough money to make this worth their while, and he mentioned a sum of around $15,000.
Oh.
And then they did take Denise,
Oh, dude.
saying they were going to keep her for 48 hours.
$15,000?
That's what they said.
That's not very much.
So this is just the beginning of the story,
Okay.
actually. This is just the beginning.
Okay,
So
okay.
give me some of your thoughts so far, because you are 100% cold. You already said you don't feel like that's a lot of money.
No, I don't feel like that's a lot of money. He had a girlfriend that was living in his
It was his ex-fiancée.
ex-fiance in September. What month is this?
This is March.
So he found another girl. I wonder if that's why she's his ex-fiance. I don't know. There's a lot going on here.
Yeah, we're going to talk about why they broke up in
There's
a
a
little
lot of
bit.
entanglements going on.
Yeah. Okay. So right now, the thought of waking up like that, like, what is your reaction to how this?
Oh, I would need the wetsuit because I would wet myself.
I just can't. I can't.
I
even
would just be
imagine.
mortified. I would be
beyond terrified.
beyond terrified.
Beyond terrified.
I wouldn't know what to do. We've already talked about fight or flight. Mine is just freeze or flight. So there's no fight in me. So I don't know.
The one thing you know you would not have done.
I would not have done.
I would not have fought.
I would not have fought.
Yeah. So this is just the very beginning of the horrific experience that this couple endured, and it is a story that is told in a Netflix 3-part docuseries called An American Nightmare.
When did this happen? What year?
It was back in 2015.
I wonder why I haven't heard of it.
Well, this docuseries did not come out until 2024.
Oh, okay.
And it is, by the way, rated mature due to
I would assume
content and
so.
language.
Yeah.
Definitely not something we're recommending for children. In
Oh,
fact,
yeah.
this episode will have a content
Oh, it will?
warning.
Okay,
Yes.
got it.
Yes. But that story on Netflix is told primarily through live footage from police interviews and personal testimony from people involved. So it is very personal and very compelling. And I will tell you that when it first came out on Netflix, millions of people immediately watched it. According to a
Really?
Today Show article, this is a quote, "Within hours of premiering on Netflix, American Nightmare shot to the top of the streaming giant's most watched charts." I mean, it was in the top 10.
That is so weird how I can just totally miss stuff.
Well, I mean, but there's so many other things that
I
you're
got a
on
lot
top
going
of.
on.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
can't keep on top of everything.
I was probably investigating Ruby Frankie so deeply that I was like, I don't have time for anything else.
Maybe. But this docuseries, American Nightmare, is the primary source I used. I did use several other sources as well. Check our show notes for those. For example, some of the same people gave interviews for a 2020
Okay.
episode that was very good. So check the show notes, but I do want to give a shout out to American Nightmare. And if you are interested in this story, you should watch that.
Okay.
Absolutely. Moving back into the story, Denise is gone. So what I am sharing with you now is what happened from Aaron's perspective.
Okay.
Okay. This is Aaron's story. So the intruders told Aaron they were installing a camera that would be watching him. He was instructed to stay within a designated area there around his couch, and if he moved outside of the view of the camera, they were going to hurt Denise, which meant they were going to kill Denise, is
Okay.
how he said.
That's how he
took
interpreted it.
Mhm.
Okay.
Yes, Aaron was told he should expect to be contacted via text and email in order to take care of their ransom demands. And by the way, they showed this. Like, you can see red tape outlining this area where he was supposed to stay. So
How would they have his text or email?
his phone. I mean, like, they
Took his phone?
well, he had his phone, but they knew his phone number,
Okay.
and I'm sure they could find out his email address. They probably asked him for it. They also took his laptop.
Okay.
Yeah. So they also told Aaron they were taking his car, a Toyota Camry, along with Denise. He remembered hearing his car start up in the driveway. Now, this time has passed, right? They were awakened around 3 a.m. And if I recall correctly, it was around 5 before
They
Denise
left.
was taken away. Yes, so time has passed. But he recalls hearing his car start up in the driveway, recognizing that they were taking his girlfriend away, and then the sedatives kicked in and he lost consciousness. When Aaron woke up, it was around 11:30 that morning. He could still feel the effects of the sedatives. He's not thinking clearly. He's still kind of groggy. Looking around, he saw that red tape on the floor marking where he was supposed to stay, and he could see the camera mounted on the wall pointing at him just the way they had told him.
Okay.
Yeah, he's terrified. He does not know what to do. He said he was afraid to call 911 because he knew they were watching and he didn't want them to hurt Denise. So he
Just stayed
waited.
in his box.
Yeah, he'd waited. Exactly. After a little while, he got an email from the kidnappers demanding a $15,000 ransom paid in cash. So Aaron called Chase Bank to see how much he could get advanced to him, and they told him he could only get $3,500. So he responds to the kidnappers to tell them that, and they don't answer. After about 20 or so minutes have gone by, Aaron was starting to panic. And of course, the whole time his mind had been churning. He didn't know what they were going to do to Denise if he couldn't get the money. And then he said he actually realized he couldn't trust them to stick to their word even if he got them the money.
They're criminals.
Yeah, I mean, he does not know what to do. He is panicking. So he felt like his only choice was to reach out to the police because he knew he needed help, and he said he trusted the police. Now, what does not come out in the docuseries, but is mentioned in a few different sources, such as a People magazine article and a different interview that Denise gave on a podcast, was that Aaron had a brother, Ethan, who was an FBI agent.
Well, that's who you should call.
And he did.
Okay, good.
And he did. He broke down and called his brother.
You're just calling your brother. They don't know that that's not the police. It's my brother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, well, but that's what he did. And his brother adamantly said, you need to call 911.
Okay.
And he did. So the police came to Aaron's house, where, of course, they start to immediately question him, asking all the questions, looking for evidence. By this point, it has been hours since Denise has been taken away. So, of course, one of the first questions they asked Aaron was why he had waited so long to call for help. And he explained that he'd been drugged, which had knocked him out. And, of course, he'd been asleep all that time. So law enforcement was there at Aaron's house for quite some time. We have footage from that you see in the docuseries. And then, of course, at some point, they took Aaron to the police station so that they could start taking his statement and really, probing his story. You can see it in the video footage. Once they are at the police station, Aaron willingly let the officers swab his mouth, take blood. They took his clothes, all of his clothing, for analysis. They gave him a prison outfit to wear. So he is cooperating fully. We also hear the beginning of the interview when Detective Matt Mustard told Aaron they were treating him as a victim, that he was not being detained. They wanted to make that clear. And then Detective Mustard started to question Aaron, having him tell the story again and again, because that's what you do, right?
Double check it. Did you leave anything out?
Right. And you try to get them to remember new details. You look for the inconsistencies. That's what they do, right? So at one point, the detective asked Aaron what his conversation with Denise had been that night before. What was that conversation about?
About your relationship.
Exactly. Well, Aaron shared that there had been some tension between the couple over the fact that Aaron's ex-fiancée, Andrea, actually worked at the same hospital with Aaron and Denise.
Oh, that is an entanglement.
Yes. He shared that what had caused their breakup was his discovery that Andrea had cheated on him.
Okay.
And he was very open. He said that wrecked him. He was very upset about that. So at this point in the docuseries, they actually cut to video footage of Andrea, who has been called in to be questioned by the police in relation to this kidnapping of Denise. And she admits she knows Denise. And as they ask her about her relationship with Aaron, she admits that they ended their relationship on very bad terms. But she goes on to say that after their breakup, because they're still working together, Aaron would come into her office, occasionally try to hug or kiss her.
They're still working together, and she's living in his house.
No, they were no longer living together at this time.
Okay.
And she said she had asked him to stop. And then when the police officer asked if Aaron was trying to get back together with her, Andrea said that she thought he would be open to the idea. So that's just a little bit of background, right?
Okay.
Now we're back to Aaron's questioning. The detective clearly wanted to know about, this conversation. He wanted to probe a little bit more. So he asked, why were you having this deep conversation? Why was there this tension? Did Denise find something that would have given her a reason to be upset?
Yeah.
And Aaron admitted that the reason for the tension was that about a month prior to this, Denise had found some text messages where Aaron had told Andrea he wanted to try to work things out. And he admitted that Denise had said she felt like he was emotionally cheating on her. So they'd had this big conversation.
Yeah.
And
he should have gotten over Andrea before he moved on with Denise. That seems like those timelines are too close together.
Well, and so apparently there was some things they were working out with their relationship. Now, I am jumping ahead here because for sake of time, I cannot go through everything they hit in these interviews with Aaron, but let's just suffice it to say that his interrogation went on for hours, and over time, the tone shifted dramatically.
Uh-oh.
Okay. That same detective I mentioned earlier, Matthew Mustard, told Aaron at one point, quote, "The frogman obviously didn't do it. So who did it now?"
Who's the frogman?
Remember the wetsuit? He said they
he
were
called
in a
him a
wetsuit. So
okay.
he's referring to them as frogmen.
Okay.
Okay. The frogman obviously didn't do it. So who did it now? Well, it's the guy that I've been sitting here talking to tonight. So now I get my puzzle pieces and I start figuring it out, okay? How do I make it so you look like a monster?
What? That's the investigator saying that to
Yes,
Aaron?
because what becomes clear as you're watching is that somewhere along the way, he has become convinced that Denise was now dead and that Aaron was the one who had killed her. And in the video footage, you see that as this progresses, the detective is getting aggressive about it. He is saying things like, Denise is gone and you did it. Tell the truth so that Denise's family will know what happened to her and where she is. And of course, this whole time, Aaron is denying all the accusations.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, again, I don't know at what point this happened, but at some point, Aaron's parents had made it to the police station, and I'm imagining it was probably pretty quickly, but they were told they could not see their son.
He should have asked for a lawyer.
Well, hold that thought. Okay. Instead, they were led to another room where they said on the docuseries that most of the questions they were asked seemed to be about Aaron. So this whole time that Aaron was being interrogated by the police, his house was still being combed for evidence, and massive ground searches were being held to try to locate Denise in boats, on land with cadaver dogs. I mean, everything. Because it's out there. Like the news is out there. A journalist named Henry Lee, who worked for the San Francisco Chronicle, commented that Denise's kidnapping was incredibly sensational for a couple of reasons. One of those is because things like this just did not typically happen in that Vallejo area.
No.
So that already made it sensational. This is a safe place. Things like this don't happen. And secondly, here it was, this beautiful young blonde white woman who had this nice job as a physical therapist who'd been taken away. So the press was running nonstop with this story. And Henry Lee, this journalist, also commented that he personally, when he first heard about this, had registered how suspicious it seemed to him that the only witness was this woman's boyfriend who had not bothered to report his girlfriend's abduction for hours and hours.
Okay, I'm going to pause right here and say the one thing that I thought was a little suspicious. This is such a weird point, is that he said it took him 2 hours to fall asleep. You get NyQuil and some other, that other thing, and it takes you 2 hours. You either have like a Judy Garland constitution or that is not true. So that's my thought when you said, because the NyQuil makes you go to sleep within 20 minutes usually. So he should have been, with whatever that other sedative was, he should have been knocked out way sooner than 2 hours.
Yes.
So that's my one, like, that doesn't make sense.
Well, and I will say this. It was not clear to me when watching this and reading the different sources whether he only was administered one dose or if he might have been given more.
Still, NyQuil knocks you out.
Yeah. Okay. Well, again, hold that thought.
Okay.
Well, back at the police station, things were only getting worse for Aaron. One thing that I haven't mentioned yet is that the FBI were also brought in pretty much from the get-go, I believe.
Well, his brother should have been there for sure.
Well, he's obviously not interrogating Aaron.
Yeah.
But I didn't see this actually mentioned in any of the sources, but I Googled, and what I saw is that when there's ransom involved, it's a federal crime. So I'm assuming that's why the FBI was brought in immediately. But also the fact that he called his brother may have had something to do with it. I have no idea. But by around 4 a.m. in the morning, so he's been questioned for hours already.
Okay, we're almost at 24 hours later. Yeah.
Well, he didn't go into
from the incident.
From the incident, yes. Probably at least 12 hours of questioning.
Okay.
Aaron was given a lie detector test. And here's an excerpt from a 2020 episode where you can hear part of the conversation that this FBI agent had with Aaron after they finished the test.
I bet he failed it because he's probably exhausted.
Aaron, there's no question in my mind that you failed this test. And you failed it miserably. It's not even close.
At this point, Aaron, who has not had sleep, has this officer that is now barraging him with questions. Tell us what happened to her. Let's get her family closure.
I did not do anything. Okay, I did. I'm pretty sure maybe you didn't. Maybe you didn't do anything. Maybe something happened to her that you didn't plan. Maybe I don't know. You tell me. But it can't start with 3 guys showing up at the house taking her away. That's not what happened. You know where she is. I don't know where she is.
At one point, I actually started doubting my own sanity. I thought maybe I did have a schizophrenic breakdown.
I want you guys to find her. I don't know where she is.
he's run out of road. He's exhausted, he's traumatized, and he thinks that he's going to get arrested for murder. Finally, he says, look, there's nothing more I can tell you, and I guess I need a lawyer.
What?
Finally.
I need a lawyer. We're done.
My man, you should have done that as soon as you got in there. They put you in a prison outfit and said, we're going to treat you like the victim, and you're in a prison outfit. You say, I need a lawyer.
Yeah, he was so cooperative. He was so concerned about trying to find and get help for Denise.
Yeah, still.
So what you didn't see if you were watching it, it was just so condescending, I guess. After he asked for that lawyer, he's crying, and that FBI agent stands up, grabs tissues, and like slams it down in front of him. Yeah, kind of with this attitude.
And they're getting ready to get I don't know how the story turns out, but it could be a false confession because he's so tired. He's got no representation. He just wants to go to sleep. He's going to say whatever he needs to say to just get out of there.
Yeah. Well, this story has so many twists and turns.
Oh my
I think
goodness.
you're in for a lot of surprises.
Okay.
All right. So here's what did happen. All right. The fellow leaves him alone in the interrogation room, and
The
you
FBI
see
guy.
like you see little clips of him. He's crying. At one point, he's kind of curled in a fetal position. I mean, he's upset. But eventually, they let Aaron's FBI brother into the room to see Aaron. Aaron speculates it was probably because they thought that his brother could get him to confess. But actually, what happened was that Ethan gave him a hug, listened to him, and then told Aaron he was going to get him a lawyer.
Good for
which
him.
He did.
What a good brother.
Yeah, and it looked like he actually got him two. It seemed as though there were two attorneys who worked together, and they represented Aaron, and so at different times, one or both would speak in the docuseries. But the point is, after something like 18 hours of questioning,
Oh, gosh.
once these lawyers were hired, they immediately got Aaron out of the police station. And they're, of course, now taking the statement themselves. They're asking him. And they are literally, these lawyers are saying, this sounded insane. This really did sound insane. But they 100% believed him while recognizing that a lot of people who heard the story
Would not.
might not. Yeah. And they noted that if something happened to Denise, it could be very bad for Aaron.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. And then something really shocking happened.
Oh.
Denise at this point had been missing for around 31 hours when the journalist I mentioned earlier, Henry Lee from the San Francisco Chronicle, received an email that had Denise's name listed in the subject line.
To Henry Lee?
Because as a representative of that paper, it was basically to the paper, but he's the one who got it. Yeah. The message contained an audio file. Here's an excerpt from that same 2020 episode explaining what was in that clip and giving you a little idea of what happened next.
Denise Huskins, kidnapped. Otherwise, fine.
It's Denise's own voice, so we know that she is still alive.
And she gives information relevant to present day. She talks about a plane crash in the Alps.
An Airbus A320 plummeting into French Alps. 150 people now feared dead.
Earlier today, there was a plane crash in the Alps.
My other attorney, Amy, called and said there was a proof of life and that the police want me back at the station.
I just was told by a detective an hour ago that the boyfriend was responsible for killing her. And now I'm saying, oh, she's alive.
They said they want to send a message back. And they also want me to look at my phone. The phone that they've had in their possession since I called the police the day before. I bring out my phone, and then I hear my attorney's paralegal saying Aaron's on airplane mode.
And of course, if a device, as we all know, is on airplane mode, it's not receiving incoming messages. And as soon as he takes it off airplane mode, his phone explodes in a million text messages.
Why would the police put your phone on airplane mode if that was the only means of communication from a kidnapper who has your girlfriend?
Exactly. They're just leaving Denise to fend for herself.
So they're saying the police put his phone on airplane?
When they took him in for questioning, they had his phone and put it on airplane mode.
So that the kidnappers
could not contact him, the one person who was supposed to be the go-between, so that Denise was safe and wasn't going to get hurt or killed.
That's wild.
Absolutely. And I don't know if you caught all that because it was, again, that was a 2020 episode and we were cutting to different people who were making comments. Denise's voice, what she said at the beginning was she identified herself by name and said, I've been kidnapped, but other than that, I'm fine. And then you heard that she talked about a news event so that they would know that it was current. They also had her share that her first concert was Blink 182. Aaron and Denise's family members
knew this was true.
Yeah, this is personal information. This is time-sensitive information. confirmation she is really alive. This is
Okay.
legit.
So he didn't kill her.
Yeah, right. So in the docuseries, Aaron and Denise's mom both talked about being questioned again after this proof of life came through. But Denise's mom noted that it seemed as though a lot of the questions seemed to be about Denise's character. They're asking things like if Denise had a lot of boyfriends, did she drink a lot? Just things that seemed to be...
drink a lot?
Yeah, it seemed to be about Denise, which struck her as odd.
Yeah.
And then the morning of March 25th, suddenly the news broke that Denise Huskins had been released and had gone to her father's house in Huntington Beach, California, which is 400 miles away from where she'd been kidnapped. I mean, like, literally, she's been spotted. Her reappearance is all over the news because her kidnapping and the search for her
Was everywhere.
And now it is just, I mean, it's a firestorm.
400 miles away.
So the press surrounded the area, and there was video footage of her wearing a black jacket with a hood pulled up, getting into a car and driving away from that home
area.
Yeah, that area where her family was. That evening, 12 hours after Denise's release, although they'd not yet spoken to Aaron or Denise yet, the Vallejo police held a press conference.
Oh, dear.
A spokesperson named Lieutenant Kenny Park made a statement to the press during which he said several things, but one comment was that this was, quote, an orchestrated event and not a kidnapping.
Okay.
He also commented, quote, Mr. Quinn and Ms. Huskins have plundered valuable resources away from our community and taken the focus away from the true victims of our community while instilling fear among our community members. So if anything, it is Mr. Quinn and Ms. Huskins that owe this community an apology.
Okay, so first they said he killed her.
Mm-hmm.
He hadn't killed her.
Right.
So now she's been released for some random reason. And now they're like, well, if she's been released, you must have faked it. But they haven't talked to either one of them to confirm this. They're just telling the world at large they're liars.
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly.
Okay.
And overnight, the media
took it and ran.
And
Okay.
everyone has turned on this couple,
my God.
especially Denise.
So, okay, I'm going to pause you right here. So because I don't know how this turns out, but I know the theme of this month is the second sip. And we're focusing on gaslighting. So somebody's gaslighting here. And it's either the police or it's the couple. I really...
You can't tell yet?
I can't... Well, I'm leaning toward more the police at this point.
Okay.
But yeah, that's where I'm going. So when you're telling the story, I was like, oh, I know this is second sip, so maybe they did fake it, but the way they're treating them, maybe they weren't faking it, although this sounds really weird. So that's just for the listener. That's where
we've only just begun.
Holy
Ashley.
cats. So that's where my head is right now. Somebody's gaslighting somebody. But who is the gaslighter?
Okay. Well, so to finish this thought.
Okay.
The news channels, I mean, and these are like the big news channels. We're talking like Today Show and Good Morning. Everybody is posting stories about this being an elaborate hoax. They're speculating about charges that might be brought against this couple. And here you go. A lot of comparisons were being made between this strange case and the 2014 movie Gone Girl.
Gone Girl. They didn't even talk about Sherry Papini yet?
Okay. No. In that film, the wife faked her own kidnapping and apparent murder after catching her husband cheating. And here we have this woman, Denise, who had reportedly discovered her boyfriend having this emotional affair with his ex, who was kidnapped, believed to be dead, and then she turned up unexpectedly. And they're saying this was the Gone Girl kidnapping.
Is it an emotional affair if the other person is going, please leave me alone? That doesn't feel like an emotional affair. That means that the both parties have to be participating. It sounds like the fiance was like, go away, it's over.
But I mean, if your boyfriend is hankering for his ex, that's not going to make you happy.
No, it's not.
Yeah. So here we are. Denise had been found alive, which you would think would be such an incredibly joyous moment for everyone. But instead, things are really, really dark for this couple.
Wow.
And that's where we're going to take a break.
I knew it.
And when we come back, we're going to hear Denise's side of the story.
Okay, we're back. We're rewinding. There's not much we love more than spilling the tea with you every Tuesday. So we've decided to occasionally take a moment to thank a few of our supporters who help make this possible.
Along with the fun, producing a weekly podcast also brings with it more time and expense than you might expect. Your financial generosity in becoming a member through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon, both of which can be found on our website or social media accounts allows us to keep creating these episodes.
We'd like to extend our deepest gratitude to one of our current members, Laura. As a thank you, Laura and anyone else who becomes a Scandal Water supporter will receive perks like discounts on merch and access to exclusive bonus content such as our minisodes.
If you'd like to hear your name on that roster, become a member using one of the links on social media or on our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com.
Until then, we lift our cup to you, Laura.
Cheers! And we are back. And you know what? Before we go into Denise's story, I feel like we should just give it a little trigger warning. We are going to touch briefly on sexual abuse.
Okay.
So this is not for everyone, and just listen with with caution. Yes, but here's what happened. So with her eyes covered with those blacked out swim goggles and her hands tied behind her back, Denise was placed in the trunk of Aaron's car and driven away from her boyfriend's home early that morning. It was around 5 a.m. Of course, at that point, she was terrified. She'd been drugged. She said she was having trouble breathing. Yeah. When the car stopped, the man opened the trunk, grabbed her shoulder and said, "Do not speak, do not scream. You're going to make this a lot harder on yourself." Then she was moved from that trunk into the trunk of a different car. And while she was being transported, Denise tried to pay attention to anything that might be helpful. She was counting the turns. She noticed that the engine made a deep revving sound that reminded her of a Mustang. Just anything that she could note. She was trying to do it, even though she was very groggy. When the car stopped at their destination, the man got her out of the trunk. And even with the blacked out goggles over her eyes, she could tell that it was light outside. She also noticed the smell of pine trees and how quiet it was. And she said she got the impression that they had to be in some remote location where the abductor was not afraid of being seen.
Okay.
He grabbed her by the feet and dragged her into a dark place where it felt like she was lying on a cold concrete floor. And then he went off and did some things for a little bit. And when he came back for her later, he guided her through the house. She can't see anything. And she could tell, when she was on carpet and at one point that she was on tile. So she felt like, she was going through a house. And then the man seated Denise on a bed and she could feel him sit beside her. And then he said, "This wasn't meant for you. This was meant for Aaron's ex, Andrea."
Why are you doing it, man?
Yeah, and he went on to explain that he was part of a black market group that kidnaps people for money. He told her that Aaron had been given instructions about what to do and that their plan was to release Denise in 48 hours. And of course, she wanted to believe he was telling her the truth and that she really would be released in 2 days. She recognized what a vulnerable position she was in. She's restrained, she's blindfolded, she's isolated, she's drugged. I mean, she knew that her life could be taken away at any moment and there was nothing that she could do. So it was around then that the drugs did knock her out, and when she came to, she could tell that it was now darker.
What's with these drugs? These are the most delayed action drugs. I'm sorry. I don't mean to, I'm not making light of this, but the NyQuil and the sedative, I would have thought would have kicked in way sooner.
Well, and it may be that she was coming and going.
It could be. Yeah. Okay.
And also, again, I don't know when new doses were administered.
Oh, okay. All right.
But she could hear the man moving around in the house and also French pop music playing. So as time passed, they had some interactions. He would come in and out. At one point, he guided her to the restroom. And he would come across to her as being very thoughtful and polite in the way he spoke and treated her. He would share some personal information about himself. Like he would sit and talk with her. And he told her about his struggles with insomnia and PTSD due to, his military background. He'd been in the military. So the whole time, in fact, I'll back up for a second. This was something that came out in the podcast. She did an interview on Call Her Daddy, and she talked about how when you watch true crime or when you read about it, a lot of times your image of what happens when there's an intruder or a kidnapping is that it's this frenzy and it's violent and it's just really fast-paced and just action-packed and really terrifying. And she said that it was the whole time, it was always so calm and controlled, and it was almost scarier to her because it just felt like everything was
too much in control.
Yeah, so much control. And also she felt like just under the surface, she didn't know if this man was just waiting for something to set him off.
Yeah.
So terrifying. This whole experience, just absolutely terrifying, even though he's being very calm and talking to her in this polite way, He leaves again. When he comes back later, he says, "We have a problem. We don't have any collateral to ensure that you won't speak to the police." And then he went on to explain that she was going to have relations with one of them, which would be filmed. And that way, if she were to go to the police, the film would be made public. And so they know she won't do that because she wouldn't want this film to be made public. Yeah. Okay. And then he went on to say that the person was going to be him.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So Denise obviously was just, horrified, devastated, but there's nothing she can do. And she knew she just had to get through this if she wanted to live. And so she did, and she reflected on it, saying that the coping mechanism that helped her, she realized afterwards, was disassociation. It was like she detached from herself, and it was like a true out-of-body experience, but, she wanted to live. And so afterwards, the kidnapper told her that now, when he wasn't around, she could take the goggles off. It was almost like, she was being given a little bit of a reward, and she was kept in that same room, but she was allowed to take a shower. But anytime he would come, there would be a knock. She always had to have the goggles on. She never saw him. But the next morning, Denise tried to think about a way to escape. Again, I do think that more sedatives were being administered.
Okay.
Yeah. She said she knew she couldn't trust this person to be telling her the truth. She did not believe she was going to be let go, but the windows were barricaded. The door was locked. She couldn't find anything that could be used as a weapon. She is truly
stuck.
Trapped, yes. And then the captor came into the room and told her they'd lost contact with Aaron.
Because his phone's been turned off. We know now it's on
the airplane. We know, yeah. We know it's because the police had turned it off. This really escalates her terror because she knows that what's supposed to get her freed
is the $15,000.
Right, is the ransom being paid. Aaron following the tasks that he'd been given. So this man informs her that his associates are on the way, and therefore the protocol was that he had to give her another dose of sedative because these people were coming. But he goes on to caution her that it was going to be best for her if she did not engage with these other people, saying, quote, "They're not as nice as me." Ooh. And he told her that she should pretend to be asleep if she did happen to wake up. So after a bit, she heard a car approaching the house. She heard voices talking. She could tell the conversation felt tense, almost heated. And then after the people left, the man came back to her room where she was being held, and he told Denise that it had been decided she would record a proof of life recording. And he explained everything it would include. And then Denise commented, because this is something that people talked about, her proof of life. They said that she sounded so flat, so monotone. Where was her emotion? Yeah, that's exactly what she said. She said these sedatives were so strong, she was having trouble even staying upright, which is why she sounded the way she did. Yeah, and she was also just being compliant because she was trying to get through everything. Yeah. So when she finished the proof of life audio, thinking now she's done, the abductor told her that his associates also had another demand. The video footage from the day before was not good enough.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah. He told Denise they were going to have to do it again. And this time it needed to look as though the two of them were in a relationship.
Oh, gosh.
And watching this on the docuseries, it absolutely breaks your heart to hear her talk about this. But you have so much admiration for her. She got through it. And later that night, she was awakened by a knock on the door. Again, whenever the knock would happen, she had to get her goggles back on to make sure that, she never saw anything. So the man came in and said, "I want to show you something." And he held a phone down. She lifted her goggles just enough to be able to see what was on the phone screen that he was showing her. It was her dad actually making a statement to the press about her. And it was like this heartbreaking thing that he was saying. And Denise said it was the first time she really broke down because she was trying to
keep all the emotion at bay.
Right. She was trying not to give the satisfaction. She was trying to just do what she had to do. And so this was when she broke down. And she said the man put his hand on her back like he was consoling her, which absolutely went all over her. But then he went on to tell her it was time to go home. And he placed her in the car and gave her another dose of the sedative. And then as it's working on her, he told her that he wasn't going to be able to take her back to the Bay Area because the police presence was just too strong there. Everybody was looking for her. So instead, he was going to take her directly to her family in Huntington Beach, which is where she grew up. And if I understand correctly, the only one who still lived there now was her dad. Okay. Everybody else lived other places. But she said the next thing she remembered was coming to in the front seat with her eyelids taped shut and sunglasses on. But through the tape, she could kind of make out the blurry white color of the car. And the abductor told her that because Aaron had gone to the police, she was going to have to speak to the police too at some point. And he warned her there were two things that she could not say because they were going to be watching her.
Yeah.
They were also going to be watching her family, right? So the two things that she could not reveal were that the abductors were in the military, or she couldn't say anything about the sexual abuse.
But obviously she did, because now you are sharing this with me.
Well, but listen to how it played out. Again, he threatened her. He said to her, quote, "We will always be watching you. So if we find out that you say anything, it's not just you, but it's your family, we can come after." And that scared her. That terrified her. He helped her get out of the car, told her to count to 10 after she heard the car drive off before taking the tape off her eyes. And that's what she did. And now here is Denise's voice telling what happened next. This is a longer clip. It's about 2 minutes.
Emergency. I just got a message on my phone from her. It's definitely her.
So I get to my dad's house. He's not home. And a neighbor says, "Oh my God, are you okay? What can I do? How can I help?" So I go inside to her apartment. Officers walk in. I look over and I notice that one of them is holding a recording device. I'm hearing helicopters. The media's collecting outside.
We're here. Everybody's gonna take care of you. Obviously, we're gonna have to ask you a whole bunch of questions.
Do I have to talk right now? I'm really scared. I'm worried, but I tell him about the home invasion, the days in captivity, the group. And then he asks me,
Were you sexually assaulted or anything like that during this?
I don't want to lie, but I also feel like there's a gun pointing at me and there's a gun pointing at my family, and I wouldn't be able to live with myself to know that I did something that would cause them to be killed. And I immediately say no.
They didn't touch you or do anything to you against your will?
No.
Do you think there's any chance that this could happen again to you?
Yeah, if I talk too much, yeah. The detective says that he has a Vallejo detective on the phone, and they're offering you a proffer agreement. And he's like, well, it's basically like immunity. My initial response is, immunity from what? I just feel really lost and confused. I feel like I need guidance.
So the immunity is if they faked it. If you turn on Aaron, we'll give you immunity. You think?
I think it's either that or it's if you tell the truth, we're not going to charge you for your hoax.
Oh.
I think it's basically calling her on. They think she's fake this.
Good grief.
I know. I don't know if you could hear it, but she her voice got soft. But in the beginning when they were asking her questions, she said, do I have to? I'm really scared.
Yes, I heard that. Yeah.
Okay. So there's a lot there, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. We heard her say she realized she needed guidance. She did get hold of a lawyer who immediately advised her that she should not go talk to the Vallejo police right now because she'd already given a statement to the police from the Huntington area. Remember, they're the ones who showed up. She's talked to them.
Yep.
And he said they're just going to be looking for inconsistencies. They're not trying to help you right now.
Yeah.
He said, you need to get on a plane, come talk to me as soon as possible. And that's why we saw her in the video. You know, when the press were taking video footage, that little clip where she was in a black jacket with the hood pulled up, getting in the car and driving away. That's because she was going to her lawyer.
Good for her. Good for her.
Yeah. Now, Aaron had expressed the desire to see Denise as soon as he heard that she had been released. But at this point that we're talking about right here, it's not happened and he has no idea where she is. And the press, terrible things are being said about her. Terrible. In fact, once she reached her lawyer, he told her that while she was flying up to meet him, the Vallejo Police Department had thrown her under the bus, as he phrased it, because remember that press statement had come out. Okay. Yeah. So I shared a little piece of that statement earlier, but another thing that I did not mention was that spokesperson for the Vallejo PD had actually said if they felt they had sufficient evidence, they would be pursuing criminal charges against Denise and Aaron.
That's very fast.
Yeah. And they haven't spoken to her.
They haven't spoken to her to see if it's even true or not.
So it appeared to Denise that instead of trying to investigate the crime,
they're investigating her.
Right. They've decided to come after this couple. So Denise told her lawyer the full truth. And he assured her he absolutely believed everything she said, but he told her that in order to try to investigate the crime fully, they needed to have her undergo a SART exam, which is an exam used to collect evidence when there's been a sexual assault. Well, she was scared to go because, again, she's afraid that being open about this, admitting this, might put her family in danger. But her lawyer convinced her. He said, you can't let these kidnappers have that power over you. And she finally relented and she agreed to go. But the Vallejo Police Department would not let her have this exam unless she gave them a statement first.
Oh, no.
Yeah. So she agreed, and she went ahead and she went through this really long interrogation process where she gave her full statement with her lawyer present.
Okay, good.
Yes. And she said she made a point to tell them every single detail she could remember. She would try to recall the turns the car made, like everything that was said, everything that was done. You could see her in the video clip. She would put, because she was blindfolded pretty much the whole time, she would put her hands over her eyes trying to remember things she could hear. She was
trying very hard.
Yes. And the lawyer commented that he's watching this, and it seemed like, they're listening so attentively. They're really they're believing her. They're with her on this. And then he noticed that they started asking questions like, "Did you fight back? Why didn't you fight back? Did you scream? Why didn't you scream?" And he said he suddenly realized they didn't believe her, and they're actually looking at her like she's a piece of trash, as he put it. Those were his words. So at this point, it was brought up in the docuseries that even though Denise and Aaron had still had no contact, the lawyers
were talking to each other,
had checked in with each other.
Okay, good.
And they're noticing that the stories are totally matching up.
Okay.
What everything that Aaron had said is matching up with what Denise is saying happened. So they're like, this is a really strong point in our favor, defending these people. But the next day, Denise is brought into a meeting with the FBI agent who told her that there were a lot of inconsistencies in her story, and he reminded her that it's a crime to lie to a federal agent. Her lawyer pulled the FBI agent aside and asked how they could think she was lying when her story, in fact, did not have any inconsistencies. And that's when the FBI agent asked him, "Haven't you seen Gone Girl?"
Oh no, they're just basing it on the movie.
Yes. And so
they're just basing it on the movie.
And Denise and her lawyer share, as they're reflecting on this, that as crazy as it sounded, they realized there was a very real chance that this couple, who has had these horrendous, horrific things happen to them, could be facing charges.
Because of a movie.
Yes. Okay. So meanwhile, Denise and Aaron still wanted to see each other. And Denise shared that even though there had been tension because of Aaron's interactions with his ex-fiancée, Andrea, she wanted to clarify this. The night of the kidnapping, they'd actually had a really productive, wonderful conversation. Remember, she had found those text messages.
Yeah, they got pizza.
But the month earlier, when she had found the text messages, and they'd kind of had a fight. An argument, a fight. He had been saying prior to that he was going to go to therapy. At that point, a month earlier, when she'd found the text messages, he was like, I'm going to go. I really care about you. I want to work on this. I'm serious about this. So the night of the pizza, the night of the home intrusion, that was actually a great conversation. He's been going to therapy.
Okay.
Things are looking good. They solidify. We really do love each other.
Okay.
We really do want to be together. So it wasn't this big, huge fight the way that it's being portrayed. It was just a really productive conversation about their relationship. Here they are now, seeing each other for the first time after all this has happened to them, and they both said it was so emotional. Denise told Aaron that if he didn't want to be with her, she did not want him to stay just because of this experience, but he assured her he loved her, he wanted to be with her forever. They're feeling solid with their relationship, but Aaron comments in the interview that despite that, he's terrified. Like, these kidnappers are out there. They can come back at any time, and nobody even believes it happened, and nobody's trying to find them. It looks like they're focused on this couple.
On the two of them, yeah.
Yeah. And then another shocking thing happened.
Another shocking thing? Okay.
Get ready.
All right, I'm ready.
That same reporter, Henry Lee, received another email about Denise. This one had the subject line, Denise Huskins kidnapping, and the writer identified himself as one of Denise's kidnappers. And by the way, he referred to Denise as Victim F. So as Henry Lee described it in the docuseries, the point of the message seemed to be that the kidnapper was angry that Denise was being branded a liar.
He's like, no, I totally kidnapped her. What?
So he had sent this
Give
message
me the credit I
to
deserve.
confirm that it really happened,
my
even
gosh.
sending a few photos, one being of what looked like a gun with a light duct tape to it. And Henry Lee, I mean, this is all bizarre. He sent it on to the Vallejo police, but said he never heard back. And he actually received several more messages from the kidnapper, some or all of which did make it to Aaron's lawyer and was shared with Denise's lawyer. And the lawyers noticed several significant things in these messages, including mention of a white Mustang, which matched what Denise had said. The fact that there was a photo of a bedroom that seemed to line up with what Denise had described. I mean,
What kind of kidnapper says, here's my proof I kidnapped her?
Well, okay, just to give you an idea, here's one tiny excerpt from one message. Quote, Miss Victim F was absolutely kidnapped. We did it. We would rather take the chance of revealing the truth than live in a world where someone like Victim F is victimized again.
What kind of kidnappers are these? Altruistic kidnappers?
It's the craziest thing. Okay. And yet, they say, as far as they know, the police never responded or investigated that information at all.
That is bizarre.
The final message from the kidnapper actually issued an ultimatum saying that if Denise, again, referred to as Victim F, if Denise and Aaron didn't get an apology from the Vallejo police, the group was going to commit the same crime again.
To them or to somebody else?
Someone else.
Oh my gosh. You better apologize to our... What?
And on June 5th of 2015, 10 weeks after Denise's release, here is what happened in Dublin, California, which is 40 miles from Vallejo.
Oh my goodness.
A woman called 911 from where she was hiding in the bathroom of her home. She said that intruders had broken into their house and had their daughter, who was 22. But even as this woman was making that 911 call, her husband was fighting with the intruders to try to keep them from taking their daughter. The 911 operator asked how many intruders there were. The woman said it was hard to see because it was dark. She explained that she and her husband had been awakened from sleep to find a laser light pointing at them and a voice instructing them to turn around. And then, while she's still talking on this phone call with the 911 operator, you suddenly hear her say, my husband's calling me. And the reason why he was calling her, you remember she's hiding in the bathroom, he's telling her that the intruder had run away. So when the police arrive on the scene, they did find the husband covered in blood, but thankfully he was okay, not seriously injured. And also very thankfully, he had saved his daughter from being abducted. Yeah. He reported that the intruder, who was wearing all black, had run out the back door. And when the police searched the backyard area, they found zip ties and duct tape that had been dropped.
Oh my goodness.
And then the daughter told the police officer that there was a phone on the counter in the house, and she thought it might have been left by the intruder. In all the frenzy, apparently, he'd left it behind. This, of course, was a huge break, okay?
Yeah.
The police identified the subscriber for the phone number that was associated with that cell phone, and when they called, a woman answered. They asked if she knew who that phone number belonged to, and she very helpfully told them that it was her son's number.
They got the mom.
She gave them his name, Matthew Muller. The detectives discovered that Matthew Muller was a former Marine and a Harvard law graduate who also happened to have a record. He'd been a suspect, not convicted, but a suspect in several sexual battery and attempted rape cases. So to keep from raising the alarm, the police told Matthew's mom that they just wanted to return his lost phone to him. And
no worries, honey.
Again, very helpfully, she told them Matthew was staying at the cabin that she owned in South Lake Tahoe.
There you go.
And
There's
she
the
gave
cabin.
them their address.
Oh, Mom.
Gave the address. So the cabin was located about 140 miles from the Dublin area, and the officers knew they needed to get there fast before Matthew had a chance to discover that the police were on the way.
Or that his phone was missing.
Well, he probably knew it was missing, but yeah. Sergeant Misty Caruso was a new detective at that point, and when they offered her the chance to come along, she jumped at it. Once they arrived, the officers took Matthew into custody pretty easily. Misty Caruso commented on how calm and composed he seemed during that raid on the house. Now, the house itself was a disaster, but as they started to search it, the detectives quickly started to find evidence that seemed to connect to the case that they were investigating, such as zip ties and duct tape that looked like would have been dropped in the backyard of that Dublin home. They also found toy guns that were painted black, and one of them had a laser light attached to it. Okay.
So it wasn't even a real gun.
Just for sake of flow, I'm going to start calling Detective Caruso Misty.
Okay.
She's going to play a role in this, an
Okay.
important role in this.
Okay.
So Misty commented on the docuseries that she noticed the windows were covered. And when she was in the bedroom, she got this really bad feeling. Things just did not look or feel right to her. And so she got the sense that there was more to this situation than met the eye. And then there was another male detective. I didn't catch his name, but he was also very involved in this. He noted that when they found NyQuil in a syringe in the bathroom, that really added to everyone's feeling of unease. And then outside, they found a stolen car with Matthew Muller's ID in it.
Okay.
It was a white Mustang.
There you go.
When the GPS came up on it, they noticed a whole lot of addresses that were there, and to a big, wide variety of places, Huntington being one of them. Okay, that was curious too.
Yeah.
And then in the trunk, they found an array of things, including a blow-up doll dressed in black and a nylon belt that had swim goggles in the pocket. And the eyes of the goggles were covered with duct tape.
Well, that sounds like exactly what happened to Denise.
And stuck in that duct tape was a single strand of blonde hair.
Which would be Denise's, right?
But they don't know this. Remember, these are the Dublin police detectives who are investigating the 911.
So they've never heard of okay.
Right. But they do immediately wonder,
what else is going on here?
Yeah, whose hair is this, and is this person okay?
Yeah.
Because I mean, this is disturbing.
Yeah.
You know, there's nothing good about what they're seeing. Let's pause for a second. Okay, again, this raid is happening in early June, so just to go back and check in on what is happening with Denise and Aaron at this time. This whole time, they are still afraid the kidnappers are going to return, and also that they might be charged with committing a hoax. Denise, in particular, was receiving a landslide of hate messages, especially on social media, and if their story was still all over the news. They were also not able to work. Emotionally, they weren't sure they were able to, but they didn't know if they would be allowed to work because they were publicly known as the hoaxsters.
Oh, gosh.
Like, would they be allowed to be physical therapists working with people?
Yeah.
You know? Because of all the media attention and fear for their safety, they weren't staying in their own homes. They were actually rotating, staying with friends, staying with family members. Aaron commented they felt like fugitives who were on the run.
People.
I know. And then this whole time, of course, their lawyers were working tirelessly to try to defend them, to build a case to defend them. But still, the couple was feeling pretty hopeless. And then it got even worse when they discovered, almost by accident one day, that the lead FBI agent on their case used to date Aaron's ex-fiancée, Andrea. The one who, remember, was the intended targeted for the plot, right? Denise's lawyer commented that this was a clear, unequivocal conflict of interest. But when he wrote to the Office of Inspector General to say that, they responded that they found the lead FBI agent's conduct unproblematic.
Oh, no.
So Aaron commented in the docuseries, quote, "Is this why the investigation is not being followed through? Is this why evidence is being ignored? It's not paranoia anymore. Now it feels personal. We're just two people going against the FBI."
Wow.
So they're feeling like they don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Misty, that detective from Dublin, she's investigating. What she wants to know is, who does this blonde hair belong to, and is this woman okay? So she said she knew they had to find out who that hair belonged to. She didn't know how to proceed, so she started by looking at some of the incidents for which Matthew Muller had been a suspect. One that caught her eye was a break-in involving a woman from Palo Alto back in 2009. This woman had been awakened in the middle of the night by a man wearing all black who had restrained her, put surgical tape over her eyes, and made her drink NyQuil.
Ugh.
Thankfully, this woman had managed to talk her way out of the assault by telling him that she'd been a victim before, and he actually decided he wouldn't victimize her again, and he let her go. But there's no mention of goggles, but this still kind of catches Misty's eye, because remember that NyQuil connection, certain things, starting to make her think. She keeps looking. She found another attempted assault for which Matthew Muller was a suspect. It also happened in 2009. This woman had also been awakened in the middle of the night by a person in all black who used her name when he was talking to her. He had restrained her with zip ties, made her drink something that he said would make her sleepy, and put swim goggles on her. Swim goggles that had had the eyes blacked out.
Oh, there you go. There's your connection.
She'd begged and bargained with the man and was also able to talk him out of it. In fact, he had actually advised her to get a dog for protection. Misty's reading all this. More than ever, she feels like she's on to something, but this woman has really, really dark hair. This is still not her blonde. She finally decided she was going to take a closer look at that stolen white Mustang. She contacted the registered owner who lived in Vallejo, California, telling him that it had been recovered as part of a home invasion case. And the owner said, have you heard of the Mare Island Creeper? Of course, Misty had said she had not. But what she found out was that back in 2014, a lot of students who lived on Mare Island, which was very close to Vallejo, were reporting a peeping Tom wearing all black who would take photos and then run off. They had reported the incidents to the police, who did not appear to investigate it from what they could tell. And because of that, a few students had actually followed the peeping Tom one night, discovering that he also lived on Mare Island, and he was ex-military and a lawyer. And when Misty hears this, she's like, there he is. Matthew Muller. Yep. Okay, this is matching. The car owner went on to comment that the Mare Island Creepers just seemed to stop one day. And, actually, it was kind of right around the same time of that Gone Girl case. The Gone Girl kidnapping case. She had no idea, but Misty started Googling the Vallejo kidnapping Gone Girl case, and up popped the story of what had happened to Denise
she's like, this is
and
him.
Aaron. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Misty noticed that Denise was taken from a Mare Island home, and all the parallels are registering, including the GPS address for Huntington Beach and the Mustang and Denise's blonde hair. Like, it's all matching.
All there.
It's all there. She is so excited. She tries to call the Vallejo PD immediately. Took several calls before she finally got through to them. When she did, they told her that the case had been turned over to the FBI. They gave her the number for David Sesma. That's the FBI agent who used to date Andrea.
Oh, no.
Yeah. Misty told him that they had a suspect in custody that the FBI would want to look at because their cases were so similar. That this case that they were looking at was very similar to the Denise Huskins abduction case that he was investigating. He told her, send all the information. We'll look at it.
Oh, no.
Yeah. According to that other detective I mentioned, the other Dublin detective who was working on the case, it was only after they had a meeting with that FBI team and they put all the evidence in front of them, including the blacked out swim goggles with the blonde hair and, that gun with the laser tape to it, all those different things, that the FBI agents seemed to register, this might actually be real.
Right?
This might not have been a hoax.
Yeah.
And not long after that, Denise's lawyer got a phone call telling him that they had a man in custody and that there was evidence that linked him to the crime against Denise and Aaron. He said he was absolutely shocked. It just came out of nowhere. When the news broke, it was again incredibly sensational. Some of the new details that emerged about Matthew Muller was that he was bipolar, suffered from Gulf War illness, and had recently been disbarred for fraudulently charging a client. Denise's lawyer commented that he could not wait to see the affidavit that would detail how the investigation had proceeded. Apparently, that's something that the police have to put out when, I guess, I'm not sure. I don't know how the law works, but apparently they were forced to put that out.
Okay.
When he did see it, the lawyer said it was clear that instead of investigating the crime, the FBI had focused their energy
on the people,
on trying to go after Denise and Aaron. So a few of the points that were significant. Aaron noted in that affidavit that while the FBI agent, we heard him, told him that he had failed the polygraph test miserably, the results of the polygraph were actually inconclusive.
Oh.
Yep. They also realized that when Aaron had been taken in for questioning, again, he told the police the kidnappers were contacting him to give him details about the ransom. But because of his phone being put on airplane mode and not being turned on until the next evening, they had missed 2 phone calls from the kidnappers, and I'm assuming several text messages as well. But here's the thing about those phone calls. The lawyer shared in the docuseries that those were traceable calls.
Oh, no.
And they were traceable to within 200 meters of where Denise was being held.
Oh, no.
Denise commented that if they had actually monitored Aaron's phone, they could have saved her from the second assault.
Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so first of all, you've been saying kidnappers, but it's just Matthew, right? There is no other person.
All right, let's go ahead and talk about that right now. I was going to save that for later, but since you brought it up, this is a point that has come up several times. Aaron and Denise on the docuseries share their frustration and anger over the fact that law enforcement to this day insist that Matthew Muller acted alone. They've never pursued any other perpetrators. They are convinced that it was just him, while Denise and Aaron are convinced
There was more than
there
one.
were several people involved in the crime. So I went and looked it up. I'm like,
what's the difference?
Yeah, what's the evidence on both sides? Here's what I have discovered. Denise says that whenever she was being held captive, she heard that car coming up, remember? And those other people coming in and the argument.
So she did hear stuff.
She said that that is one incident in particular where there's proof other people were involved. Aaron gave some evidence. He pointed out that this was actually something that was in the police report that was submitted by the Vallejo police. They had in their report that 2 cars were seen leaving Aaron's house fairly close together around 5 a.m. that morning of the break-in.
Okay.
And in the police report, this is Aaron talking about what he said. Quote, there was also a white male seen outside my house at 5 o'clock in the morning after they left when Mueller had Denise in the car.
Okay, so they're saying there was an accomplice.
So they're saying other people had to be involved. Now, on the flip side, I saw in a People article that at some point, Mueller admitted to using audio recordings to make Denise think that he was not working alone. And so the police believe that he tricked the couple, that it was audio recordings that he used. Remember, he had that blow up doll in the trunk. You know, they insist that
he was just alone.
Yeah, that he was alone, that he just tricked them. And I will say, Aaron came back and said, just because he graduated from Harvard, they think he's so smart and we're so stupid. You know, we know there were more people. Okay, but that's that issue. So this was so satisfying. It was about 4 months after the home invasion and the kidnapping occurred that Denise's lawyer got to hold a press conference with Denise and Aaron standing silently behind him, where he basically set the record straight and called the police and the media out for mishandling things so badly.
Yes.
And just right there, I mean, you can just see the vindication.
Yes.
They're standing there where they're saying these people have been so mistreated and they were telling the truth the whole time. Yes. All right, so what's happened since? I'm going to go through this really quickly because I know this is a long episode. In March of 2017, Denise Huskins was able to face Matthew Mueller for the first time because the whole time she'd been blindfolded. And that was when she made her statement at his sentencing. She said she took herself back that day. Matthew Mueller was sentenced to a total of 40 years for kidnapping, robbery, and rape. To this day, they still do not know why Andrea was the intended target or why this happened to them. In 2016, Denise and Aaron sued the city of Vallejo for false imprisonment, defamation, false arrest, and intentional infliction of emotional distress. They settled out of court for $2.5 million.
Sounds good to me.
The docuseries made a point of saying that none of the officers involved in Aaron and Denise's case were disciplined. In fact, lead detective Matt Mustard was named Officer of the Year for 2015. Denise and Aaron married in 2018.
Aww.
Misty, who Denise has referred to as their hero, was at their wedding.
Aww.
And Denise and Aaron now have 2 daughters, one born in 2020 and the second in 2022. In 2021, they released the book Victim F, From Crime Victims to Suspects to Survivors, which they co-wrote with a woman named Nicole Wiseny-Egan. Also, in 2021, after more than 6 years, the city of Vallejo and the Vallejo Police Department apologized to the couple in an emailed statement to ABC 7 News. Here's what it said, quote, "The Huskins-Quinn case was not publicly handled with the type of sensitivity a case of this nature should have been handled with, and for that, the city extends an apology to Ms. Huskins and Mr. Quinn. On July 20th, 2015, letters from former police chief Andrew Badu to Ms. Huskins and Mr. Quinn indicated that once an indictment against Matthew Mueller was complete, the VFD would make a public apology to the victims. Based on the comments of Ms. Huskins, while the July 20th, 2015 letter was a public document, it appears that the follow-up personal public apology did not take place." So now it's the new chief who's saying, "What happened to Miss Huskins and Mr. Quinn is horrific and evil. As the new chief of police, I am committed to making sure survivors are given compassionate service with dignity and respect. Although I was not chief in 2015 when this incident occurred, I would like to extend my deepest apology to Miss Huskins and Mr. Quinn for how they were treated during this ordeal." So back in 2021, after that apology came out
from the new chief,
well,
the old chief do?
Well, no, this is Denise and Aaron's reaction.
Okay.
They were in an interview and they were asked to respond. And they probably said more than this, but here's a little sound bite from each of them. Aaron said, quote, "They only apologized after major news outlets reached out and our book was being released." And Denise's comment was, "I think the thing that really matters most is action and showing not just us, but the whole community of Vallejo that Vallejo Police Department is dedicated to making changes." You seem a bit frustrated. So,
how can you tell what's happening?
You're going to be really happy about this because
Okay.
I'm going to end on a really positive
Please do.
note.
Please
This
do.
is going to make you happy.
All right.
That made me so happy. All right. Back in 2024, when the docuseries came out, Denise and Aaron said they'd like to help other people who were wrongfully accused. And they made this statement: "We hope to do more speaking, whether it's with law enforcement, survivors, nurses, doctors, anyone who might come into this situation and work with victims or deal with these kinds of cases and just share what we went through, the bigger themes that a lot of other survivors go through, and hopefully collaborate and try to figure out a better strategy." That was actually Denise who said that. So I was doing my research and I found an article published on July 31st of 2025 that said Denise and Aaron have been named as Witnesses of the Year by the California District Attorneys Association.
That's cool.
Yes. And I was like, and I want to know why.
Okay.
So here's what happened. After the docuseries came out, it really struck a man, Seaside Police Chief Nick Borges, who contacted the couple and Misty to see if they would come speak to a law enforcement group. Now, at some point, Denise had mentioned to the police back when she was giving her statement that Matthew Muller had other victims.
Yeah.
When she was being interrogated back, in 2015, she had told them then that Matthew Muller, remember he would talk about his PTSD?
Yeah.
He had told her while she was being held captive about some things he had done to some other people. 9 years later, nothing had happened about that, even though she had put this information out there back in 2015. Even though she said she knew this whole time these people were probably still living in fear.
Right.
Nick Borges wrote a letter to the U.S. Attorney's Office about this. Can we look into some of these old cases? He said he never heard back. Getting Denise, Aaron, and Misty to help him, Nick wrote directly to Matthew Muller in prison and ultimately got him to confess to 4 more crimes. 2 of them being those cases from 2009 that I told you about earlier. Yeah. And the other thing is, Matthew Muller's DNA had never been taken.
What?
So this initiative on their part led to the DNA finally being taken so that they could definitively solve these cold cases. And hopefully, if anything else comes up, they've got his DNA that they could use to see if he's done something else. And by the way, Muller got extra life sentences added for these convictions.
Oh, man.
So that article that I read talking about their award for Witnesses of the Year and how they collaborated, the 4 of them, these 2 law enforcement officers, and, Denise and Aaron working together to make this happen. That article ends with these words: "Huskins and Quinn are now helping to train law enforcement officials on how to work better with victims to help solve crimes. The couple is also working with law enforcement to sponsor legislation that they hope will address some of the failings in their case. For instance, no one even tested Huskins' rape kit until this year."
Really?
Denise and Aaron Quinn were honored by the California District Attorneys Association as Witnesses of the Year on Thursday. It's an honor not just for what they endured, but for what they've made possible.
Oh, gosh. That is such a good ending.
Okay.
Armchair Psychologist.
This was a second sip episode. You mentioned this earlier.
Yeah.
We've been talking about gaslighting. We've been talking about scams and hoaxes. I mean, to me, this one really speaks most closely to gaslighting.
Yes, it does.
Now, we talked about it before in the context of it occurring within a personal relationship.
Yeah.
Kind of a one-on-one thing. This one obviously is broader.
Oh, it's so
broad. It
broad.
involves the media and the police department.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts?
It's horrible because it was so fantastical that it was hard to believe. If you just had a straightforward kidnapping, they would have been.
You hope they would have been believed.
I hope they would have been believed. But the personal connection between the investigator, but he was the FBI investigator, and the former fiance, it feels like there was a little bit of, well, I want Aaron to get in trouble because they used to be engaged. It seems like there's a lot of stuff that should have been investigated that wasn't. And then to immediately say that it's their fault without looking into it. It's like, what is wrong with you all?
And to publicly state it so that everybody believed it. Like, it's bad enough that the police department had made this assumption that these people were hoaxers.
But to tell the public,
the whole
just
world
because,
believed
well, this
it.
is too fantastical to be believed, so you must be lying. And I was wondering, like, because I knew we were doing a second sip, so I knew somebody's gaslighting. So who is it? And this sounds too crazy to be believed. But truth is stranger than fiction. It really did happen to them. And the fact that the kidnapper was so weirdly nice. Who does that?
You can't even wrap your mind around it.
Okay, but that's not what you ask. What you ask is, what did you ask about?
The gaslighting. The gaslighting that happened on the part of the police department and the media. Although I blame the police department because I think the media followed the police.
Yeah, I think they followed their lead. I think it's horrible. It's horrible. And what can we learn from things like this? I just immediately ask for a lawyer. Even if you are innocent. Well, not even if. Whatever you are, ask for a lawyer. Do not speak. Get some representation in there. I think that could have helped Aaron to have somebody in there with him immediately. But he was thinking, I haven't done anything wrong. I have nothing to hide. But that doesn't mean that just because you're a good person doesn't mean the other person is a good person too. And it doesn't sound like that they were. I don't know. What do you think? You've lived with this case. What is your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I don't know that this answers my question, but I'm just going to make a statement. First and foremost, I'm just so appalled that the evidence was there and nobody was following it.
Yeah.
I mean, had
they made up
Aaron's
their
phone
mind.
been turned on, I mean, yes, they made the assumption and then they went, what is it called? Confirmation bias. They just kept then trying to prove that this couple had
done it.
Had committed this huge hoax rather than following where the evidence really led. But that's why I applaud Misty for following the evidence because they said we don't know where we would be if Misty had not made those connections. What would our lives be right now?
They would still be under suspicion.
Yeah.
How horrible.
Yeah. So I think in general, I think a lot of times this was something that was said a lot in the different interviews is sometimes women tend to be victimized more so with abductions and kidnappings and sexual assault. And so speaking to that, several times in interviews, people would say, we do wish women were believed more in general.
Yeah.
That there seems to be a tendency to question women more.
Yeah.
So that's kind of maybe not the same thing, but it's right there alongside it. Yeah, you know, why don't we believe them in general? But then also to not follow the evidence, to not have even spoken to Denise and put out a statement in the press that called her a hoaxer. It just seems...
It's horrible.
Yeah, it's just horrible.
All
Absolutely.
Horrible.
And all I can say is I'm just so happy for them that they got their vindication.
Me too. And that they ended up with a happy ending and that they've made this horrid situation into something positive that they've become advocates. They're turning this into as much good as they can.
Absolutely.
And using it for good.
Yeah, I really admired both of them. So strong, so supportive, so determined to do what was right and to try to, Aaron was determined to try to save this woman he loved. But Denise suffered through so much and she was so strong. And when she said she took her life back,
I like that.
When she got to face him down, I felt like I just had so much admiration for her the entire time. But I really love that she felt that she got to take her life back and she got her agency back. And then I just see her then going on to continue to take her agency and to do good things with it. And the docuseries, I didn't write this down, but I'm paraphrasing it. Aaron said something to the effect of, if his two daughters grew up to be like their mom, they were going to be okay. Like that was going to be amazing. And I'm like, yeah. So I want to end with, a big cheers to both of them, Denise and Aaron. But I'm putting the big salute out to Denise.
Amazing. Yes. Agreed.
Yeah.
Cheers to you, Denise.
Cheers. If you love what we do, please rate and review our show or become a supporter through Buy Me a Coffee or Patreon. Whether a single gift or recurring monthly donation, your support is what allows us to keep the tea brewing.
Subscribe on your favorite podcast app or the Scandal Water Podcast YouTube channel, and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Show notes are available at our website, scandalwaterpodcast.com, where you can also access the merch store and more.
This episode was executive produced by Candy Thomas, that's me, and Ashley Raymer Brown,
that's me.
It was researched and written by Candy Thomas and edited by Ashley Raymer Brown.
A special thank you to Josh Martin, who wrote, composed, and performed the Scandal Water theme and other music. Matt C. Adams, who created the artwork, and Joshua Reith, who designed our website and provides ongoing technical support.
As a reminder, this podcast is purely for entertainment purposes. The thoughts and opinions of the host during each episode of Scandal Water are their own and do not reflect the opinions of any future guests, advertisers, or clearly professional psychologists. Thanks for listening.